Are you ready? We have been waiting a long time for this one, folks. I mean, wow, it's been a long off season. We've now had a full summer in the books, a full preseason in the books of the 3 games, and I think from the Jets standpoint, we got a taste. Not a full taste, but a taste of what could be possible for this football team. Of course, that all starts with the quarterback, Zach Wilson, the head coach, Robert Saleh, and that's really where you start with this Jets team, is the change in culture that now exists as you go into the season. And I think that it's going to be one thing that's going to be very important for fans to remember going into this year. And I'm going to include myself in this as well. You have to temper your expectations this year for this football team. This is not a complete roster right now. There's a lot of holes in this roster, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I'll get into more in detail about that in a minute, but if you look at this, look at the depth chart, you know it. If you watch the preseason games, you have seen it. There's a lot of issues there on the defensive side of the ball, and even offensively, it's still not complete. But they have the quarterback, you would think, and the head coach in place, we would think, to begin this turnaround eventually. And I think that that's one thing you're going to see from the Jets this year is you're going to see a football team. I think that's how you have to measure this year. If you see a football team that is going to be competitive week in and week out, not get blown out all the time. You're going to have a lot of games that, as I like to say, you're going to want to kick the coffee table kind of games, because they're going to be so close that it's going to be a couple of plays here, a couple of plays there that the Jets do not make could end up costing them a game. That's going to make you frustrated, obviously, but it's certainly, for them to be in games closer. And I'm not one for moral victories, but to be in games and to show a fight every single week, that's what you want to see from a young football team right now. Especially a football team that's basically starting from scratch yet again. So I think from the fan standpoint, I know it's not always easy, especially for Jet fans, patience is going to be the key. It's going to be the big key throughout the course of this season. Now, of course, the development of Zach Wilson was center stage during the preseason. He looked really good in the preseason, showed a lot of poise, had a nice touch, got into a nice rhythm with a number of his receivers, especially Corey Davis. The key is going to be how can that continue here now against the live bullets, as they say, of the regular season. And now he's going to be playing, full 60-minute games starting week 1 in the heat down there in Carolina against Sam Darnold and company. It will not be an easy game, as we all know. But that is going to be the key, how he progresses and how this Jet coaching staff, what they give him. Do they open it up right away? Do they open it up just a little bit more than they did in the preseason? Or are they a little more conservative here, especially in the early part of the schedule, in the way they want to execute their offense, for that matter, with Zach Wilson? I think that's going to be very interesting to see throughout the course of the year, especially in the early part of the season. The one good thing I will say is that the Jets do have some solid weapons around them, at least offensively anyway, wide receiver and running back. It's deep there. Corey Davis, showing that he's going to be a very good possession receiver as he was in Tennessee. Maybe not a flashy number 1 receiver, but still a very good guy you can have down the middle or on the sideline, down the sideline. Elijah Moore we haven't seen in preseason. A lot of people love what this guy can do. They love what he did in college at Ole Miss. He has a lot of speed. He can work down the middle of the field on slants and go routes. We shall see we're going to see how good he can be. We haven't seen it at all because he dealt with hamstring injuries in training camp. Then you have Jamison Crowder, again, out with COVID, but a good possession receiver, Braxton Berrios, who has been impressive at times throughout his early career here with the Jets. So the Jets do have a good, deep wide receiver and core, and also Keelan Cole, don't want to forget him. Running back, you have to like that with Ty Johnson, Michael Carter, even Tevin Coleman, a deep running back core. So to have that around your quarterback, young quarterback, is a good start. I think the big question offensively, other than Zach Wilson's development, is going to be the offensive line. How is that going to gel? Elijah Vera Tucker will be getting his first shots at starting there at left guard. You're going to have a very young left side of the offensive line, Mekhi Becton and Vera Tucker. Those two guys expected to be there for a very, very long time. You got Morgan Moses there anchoring the right side of the offensive line at right tackle. So how that offensive line gels early in the season is going to play a big role in how successful Zach Wilson is and how successful the Jets are. In preseason, it looked good. They were able to run the football very well, and that helped set up the play-action pass for Wilson in preseason games. But that, again, was preseason. I think the biggest concern you have for the Jets going into the season is, of course, going to be on the defensive side of the ball. Losing Carl Lawson, losing Vinnie Curry for the season, obviously is going to hurt. They bring in Shaq Lawson, no relation to Carl Lawson, a guy who's kind of had an up and down career, but still an edge rusher that the Jets needed. They add some depth that they can get, and a guy who can go after the quarterback. And that's the bottom line. That's what they needed to do, especially that late stage of training camp and preseason, to go out and get that kind of quality player for a 6th-round pick. And you don't have to pay a lot to get him. It's worth the gamble for that matter. So he'll be there replacing Carl Lawson for the interim for that matter. But it's going to be, again, on a lot of the guys that have already been there. Bryce Huff, who's a young player. Quentin Williams, can he step up and become... A lot of people think this could be the year he's going to step up and be a big-time presence there in the middle of the defense. Can he do that? What kind of role will John Franklin Myers have as far as running off the edge on the left end on the left side of the defensive line? And really, the success of the front seven is going to be huge because very important because the back end scares you. It really does. They cut Bless Austin, who was okay, nothing special there at cornerback. I mean, it's not like they cut Darrelle Revis there, but they're very young at corner, going with Brandon Echols and Bryce Hall. You of course have the two veterans there, Marcus May and LaMarcus Joyner there in safety, but they're very young at corner, and that is going to be a problem. That is going to be a problem for them throughout the course of the 2021 season. And if the Jets are going to lose games late or they're going to get burned throughout games, it could be in regards to the way this defense plays this year. It's a work in progress. This entire team is a work in progress. But as I said, it's about seeing signs of life for a team that showed no signs of life for the last couple of years and was just too inconsistent for that matter. So it's about trying to change the culture and trying to turn it around a little bit to give you a sign that, hey, look, moving forward beyond 2021 may be pretty good for that matter for the Jets team. Now, what is the reasonable expectation as far as wins and losses are concerned this year? I don't have a high expectation. I'm going to pop the schedule up right there. There you see it, my schedule at 6-11 for the Jets this year. I think if they go 6-11, 5-12, that would be reasonable. I think of the first 3 games of the year, I think either Carolina or Denver, not both, either one could be where the Jets get their first win. Carolina is the first game is an intriguing matchup now. Of course, going up against Sam Darnold. Huge storyline right there. Robbie Anderson, another former Jet wide receiver who was inked a long-term deal down there in Carolina. Matt Rule, the head coach down there in Carolina, who almost became the head coach of the Jets a couple years ago. A lot of intrigue from that standpoint. A lot of storylines. Of course, Darnold versus Wilson being the biggest storyline of them all. And if the Jets lose this game, there's going to be an overreaction from some people. And if the Jets win that game, there's going to be an overreaction from some people. The X factor, of course, will be for Carolina, Christian McCaffrey going up against that Jet defense. We'll see how that plays out. But I'm giving it a loss right now in Week 1, Week 2, and against New England. Not going to be easy. And I'll give the Jets their first win against Denver because, again, they're good defensively and they have a lot of good pieces, but against Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback, I just don't trust Denver. So I'll give the Jets their first win there. But again, I think it could come in either Week 1 or Week 3. If it doesn't, we're talking about Halloween with the Cincinnati Bengals, for that matter, for the Jets. And you see there, I have the Jets getting wins against the Dolphins. I just think the Dolphins, unless they go out there, we don't even know if they're going to make the trade for Deshaun Watson, and if they do, whether he's even going to play this year because of all the issues he's going through, all the legal issues he's going through. They don't seem to trust Tua Tagovailoa too much at all down there. I think they are not as good as people think, and I think the Jets could beat them at least once. So I give them a win against the Dolphins. I have the Jets finally beating the Eagles for the first time in franchise history, And then the battle of the number 1 and number 2 pick in their day after Christmas, I had the Jets beating the Jaguars as well. So I think 6 wins is reasonable when it comes to the New York Jets so far this year. As far as the AFC East is concerned, I have it looking like this. Boom, there it is. I like Buffalo winning the division 11-6. New England coming out in second place at 10-7. Miami, as I said, I just got a feeling they're not going to be that good this year. 7-10, and then the Jets at 6-11. Again, it's a rebuilding year. It's a year about trying to see whether this team can make progress or not moving forward. And if Zach Wilson can take a step forward in his development, what kind of coach Robert Saleh is going to be, we're going to have a lot to learn here about the Jets moving forward. Very quickly here, I want to just touch on the Giants as well before we go. You know, I don't know what to make of the Giants at all. You know, they didn't show us a whole heck of a lot in preseason, and the one preseason game they did play in, Daniel Jones got sacked a couple of times and threw a bad interception. He is, of course, going to be the big key of the season for the Giants. He has got to play well if the Giants are going to have any chance throughout, you know, whether it's in the division or just throughout the course of the regular season. We still don't know what the situation is with Saquon Barkley, who is, again, limited in practice. I don't know if he's going to play here in Week 1 and if he'll be on a very severe pitch count, for that matter. But I do think there are concerns from the standpoint of chemistry. The Giants haven't had a lot of their guys together, like Barkley, like Kenny Golladay. There's been a lot of injuries. Andrew Thomas, the left tackle, has been beaten up a little bit there with an ankle injury. So there are concerns. And I think that this is a Giants team that could be good. They have enough talent to be very good, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And the division is ready-made for them to win. Do you really trust this? Anybody really trust Dallas? I don't trust Dallas at all. Does anybody trust the Washington football team with Ryan Fitzpatrick as its quarterback, even though they have a great defense? I don't either. And I think Philadelphia is kind of in a rebuilding year, for that matter, much like the Jets. So it's a chance. I mean, the Giants, based off of that, should win the division. I just don't know if I can trust them, for that matter. I really don't. And I'm going to bring up the schedule here. Here it is. You know, again, I'll give them the win against Denver, although I don't have a good feeling about it. But then, as you see here, it's win, loss, win, loss, win. I'll give them a win against Dallas, loss against the Rams. It's going to be one of those years where they look good one week, look bad the next week. And I think that's could be the kind of year it's going to be for the Giants this year. I have them at 8-9 to finish the season. I don't think 8-9 is going to win you the division this year in the NFC East. I think someone's going to end up with a winning record this year in the NFC East. But 8-9 could get you to second place in that division. So we shall see with the Giants. Again, they're going into the season with a lot of expectations this year. If Daniel Jones does not play well, he could be on his way out the door. That could also mean David Gettleman, the general manager, is on his way out. And who knows what that would mean for the head coach, for that matter, when that happens. A lot of questions for the Giants. A lot of big questions. If things work out, it could be a huge year for Big Blue, and they could make their return to the playoffs. We shall see what happens. But, folks, it is opening weekend. I am so excited. I really am. Leave your thoughts. Leave your predictions. What do you think will happen this year? How excited are you? And we'll talk to you next time right here on the Sports Talk Nation. We will recap Week 1 after the games on Sunday night. So stick around here. Want to like and subscribe. And also remember to follow us on Twitter at OpenMikeNJ, Facebook.com/OpenMikeProgram. Remember, subscribe. Talk to you next time.